Good morning, Jan.
Morning.
How do you do, sir?
Can you hear me better so?
Yes.
Okay. Everything is fine. Um, had
Fantastic.
had some time in the beginning of last week to work on Jinaga,
Very nice.
but then I had to deep dive into Wireshark.
Oh my goodness.
Some of my
Yeah.
customers updated to Windows 11,
Oh,
and then
that
and then
cause
they
trouble?
discovered that there was no synchronization anymore.
Hmm.
But
That
okay,
can be a problem.
I fixed I fixed the problem yesterday, so I found a solution. So
Yeah. Anytime you're in Wireshark,
it's sick.
that's not a good time. Something
No,
bad
but
is happening.
it's not really a tool that I'm very familiar with. But well, I think every 3 years I need to dive into it. Let's say every time Microsoft does something to Windows.
Ah.
No, it's not only that, but uh, so
Mm-hmm.
luckily that tool exists. But that means before you get again familiar with it, before you find out what goes wrong, um, there is always something. Anyway, Windows 11, they are they are not they throw out some of the old ciphers, and they
Oh,
are not
okay.
supporting TLS 1.0
Oh, yeah.
anymore, which is which which should not be used anymore. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm a little bit behind. But it's easy to enable it. You go to Internet options and you
Mm.
just enable the checkbox, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But
Okay. So for
no,
right now, all of your customers have to enable TLS 1.0 on their side,
yeah,
and
and it works.
and then your next step, I'm assuming, is to upgrade your servers to TLS 1.3.
The next step is to go to Jinaga.
Oh. Well, TLS 1.3 might be an easier jump. That's what I'm thinking. Nice little iterative jump.
It depends. It depends.
Hmm.
Yes, it might be easier, but if you work with some components from Microsoft, which Microsoft abandoned
Hmm.
long ago, and then it still runs on the server on which I installed it in
Ah, right.
2004, then no.
Yeah. So
For the
this.
hardware, that's not a problem. I have more than enough spare parts lying around.
Okay.
But the software, yeah, at a certain moment, you can keep the software, the server on an old platform, but the clients, they progress. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like this was
So,
before the cloud, before containers. So
yeah,
it's.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That
That
was
can be a
something I
challenge.
released in 2004. And okay, I'm updating the software, the functionality,
Hmm.
but the synchronization has never been changed, and it just works.
Hmm.
So, but I would like to replace it next time with Jinaga.
Yes.
Um, that would be nice.
Indeed. Well, thank you for dropping into the talk on Friday. That
So
was
it was a nice talk.
that
So
was pretty fun. Yep, just an evolution from the previous time that I gave it. So,
yeah,
um,
uh, it was quite a bit different.
hmm.
Um,
Okay, it felt very similar to me. I was just like, okay, let's the very first thing was, I was working through the script and it's like, okay, I'm introducing people to .NET Interactive Notebooks, and then the very next thing is let's jump out to the command line to start a Docker container. Um,
yeah,
and it was like that's a bit jarring. So I tried to bring all of that into notebooks. I was able to bring create a container into notebooks, but the the one little part where I have to jump out to the command line is in order to log into Postgres and create a sequence, um,
mhm,
which I was thinking, should I just go ahead and write the code to do that? There is a SQL block in .NET Interactive Notebooks, but right now it can only connect to SQL Server. It cannot connect to
Okay.
Postgres. But
Hmm.
I'm sure that that's going to be enhanced relatively soon, and then
Okay.
all of the code will be right there in the notebook.
Anyway, what happened in Notebook that some of the code, if you put them in separate blocks,
Yeah,
that it doesn't work, and if you put them in the same block, it does work.
yeah, that was
What causes that?
that thing. Actually, we noticed that the first time that I went through the talk. That was at a user group that you stayed up till 3 in the morning to attend. Thank you for that again. But in if you declare a record in one code block, it has to generate some code to support that record. For example, it generates the field names,
Hmm.
and then the record is going to give you a consistent equals and get hash code that's based on those field names. So, so if you then go to another block and you create an instance of the record and compare it to one that was created in the earlier block, they're going to compute two different hash codes.
And was that also the reason the last or the one but last Jupyter notebook I sent you? There also there were two things that had to stay together.
No,
I
that
think,
one was a different cause.
yeah.
Um, so so yeah, that first cause, that computing the hash code is strictly a C# hash code. So it's an integer. It's intended to be used just within memory, versus the Janaga hash code is a SHA-512, which it encodes as a base 64 string, and and that's intended to be consistent between runs. So that's stored to the database. It's computed in the same way in Java as it is in C# and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the thing that was going wrong is that when you declare a specification in a block in a notebook, it stores that, and indeed all of the local variables that you store in that thing, including the one that the specification is stored into, puts that into an object, and that then it gives the rest of the blocks access to. So it's able to reference that object and then reference the field within that object. So all of the unit tests that I'd written were referencing a variable that was within the same scope. I never wrote a unit test where one specification referenced a member of another object. So
Okay.
the expression that was generated was just had one extra layer of indirection that I wasn't expecting, and so the way that I fixed it is well, at first I told it to look for that extra layer of indirection, and then went a little bit further and said, and also look for indirection recursively. So it can be a member of an object that is another object, and you look for another member of that one, and you recurse at many levels deep. And I got that out there, and it worked, and then I realized, hey, wait a minute, all of this code that I'm writing here is just so that it can compute a constant. The constant is ultimately in that expression. If I just compile the expression and evaluate it, then I'll get that constant out. The specification that it's trying to get to has already been parsed, and it's just sitting there, just waiting for me to access. So I ripped all that code out and then replaced it with compile.invoke, and then no matter what that tree looks like, it'll just get the value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So much simpler.
So I was looking further to the model.
Mm-hmm.
That was this morning then, after last week. Wait, I try to give you Why I cannot invite you? I can just invite contact by email, but not. That's funny.
Let's
With
see.
live share.
Yeah, let me go ahead and make sure that that I am.
Like that.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm logged in. So here's live share. Okay, so it looks like it's signing in, and it opened up a relay through the. Oh, it's trying to open up a relay through the firewall. All right. Invitation link copied. Oh, yeah, okay, so it just started a live share session from my side.
Oh,
That's not what I intended.
no, that's not the.
Okay. So I am now on live share and I'm logged in. So, yep, I am logged in on GitHub. And my firewall should be open.
It still gives me by email and remove contact, but invite contact is grayed out. Perhaps it needs some more time.
Well, let me. Yeah, I see the same thing when I click on you. So that's
funny.
Maybe there's a vulnerability in there, and they just turned that off real quick. I don't know.
Wait, I will just post it to the general channel. It's in the general channel. Link.
All right. So Control Shift P, live share. Join collaboration session. All right. And all it needed was for that ID to be in my clipboard. Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Now I see you're in. So I redid some testing from last time. So a first test that I cleaned up: get all the clients for a supplier. So I defined 3 clients here.
Mm-hmm.
3 suppliers. I added clients to the suppliers, and then I wrote specification, which I put in a separate file.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here, clients for supplier. Do you want me to share the screen? Would that be easier for you?
It's following pretty well so far, so we can stick with this.
Okay. So I have specification, supplier in, client out, client for supplier. I made it just a static function, so I can use that directly here in the unit test, and that works fine. So if I run the test now, this building, yeah, is green. That's okay. Then the second was get all users who are working for a particular supplier. I did the same thing there. That's also working. And then the third one was get all users and their names working for supplier. Now then I started based on what we did last time. So I made specification here.
Mm-hmm.
But different from the Jupyter notebook, because here it's a function, so I need a return type. So I defined a record user data. Now,
nice, and you did that as a record. I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, and an hour ago I found out that you have the nested watches test somewhere in Jinaga.net. And you did exactly the same thing, but with classes, not with records.
Right, yes.
And
old habits.
Yeah, so it was interesting for me to do it myself first. And I say, why not use records? So I did it with records.
Uh-huh.
And I was convinced 2 hours ago that it worked after a long time trying last week where it didn't work. But it doesn't work anymore now.
Mm.
So if I go to this record definition, public record, user, and an IObservable collection.
Right.
Names of users, I defined it also as a public function.
Right.
Actually, it might be a private function here because it's not used in. But so that gives me really working blocks in this way, which I can use directly, or I can use them in other queries.
Yeah, I like that.
But if I do this user test, so this one, let's just run it. Is it running?
I see the build output now.
Yeah, but that was from last time, I think. Test finished. Okay. So test failed. It tells me value cannot be null. You see that, or?
I do not. I just see the build output.
Okay. How can I show you that?
Yeah.
Or I just have to. Can you run the test on your side, or not at all?
I think I could. Okay, let's. It's not coming up with the run interface.
Perhaps from the test explorer.
Yeah, I'm not getting the. Well, you might be. Yeah, I'm on VS Code. I'm not in Visual Studio, so I've got the terminal.
No, otherwise I will just share it. That might be easier.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Share screen. Where was it? DWS Visual Studio. Must be this one. Yeah, it's that one. So if I go to my test explorer here. Is it readable for you or not?
No, it is not.
Okay, let's resize that window a little bit. What about this? Oh, it jumps again.
Yeah, it seems to jump to low resolution. I saw it clear and then it faded out again. So okay.
Like this?
It's always going to low resolution. It doesn't seem to matter how small you get the window. It's just and it pops to being clear and then it's fuzzy again. But right now I can see it. So the argument cannot be null. Parameter source. So we're doing a select, and we're inside of the value parser. Okay. So we could debug through this. If you happen to have this connected to the actual Janaga source code rather than the NuGet package, then we can actually dip through it. So you can see where value parser.parseValue is the link. Go ahead and click on that. And so
This one.
Yeah. So now we are looking at the members of the new expression. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Wait.
apparently, in this particular case, when you're creating a new record, members is null, which makes sense because we're not initializing members of a class. So yeah, here I'm making the assumption that a new expression is new instance of a class with all of these initializers.
Okay.
Yeah. So that means what we need to do here is
make a distinction between a record and a class.
Yeah. So I think inside of this code, what I would do is on new body, there are other collections. Actually, you can probably hover over new body right now and see everything that's inside of that expression.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be in the debugger. We should actually be able to just inspect that variable and see what the values of those things are.
Yeah, but I think we first have to run the test then in debugging mode and stop here, no?
Oh, okay, yeah, I was confused by seeing the breakpoint there. Yeah. yeah, go ahead and run in debug mode.
It was this, no, it was in the unit test.
Yeah, in fact, it looks like it's already selected over here in the Text Explorer, so you can just right-click on that and, okay, that works too.
All right. Like this, and then I should break. Why is it loading symbols? Okay, here we are.
So
members is null.
It's null. That's what the exception is telling us.
Yeah.
So new body probably has something called arguments.
Arguments, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't change the code, but just inspect new body now that we're in the debugger, and let's take a look at what the arguments are. And we should see that there are 2 arguments, and they
new body here.
Yeah.
Arguments
there's the 2 arguments. And so we've got the
worker.user, and we have the other one here is what is the observable collection.
Nice. Perfect. So yeah, basically then it would be a test right here in this code. Do you have arguments or do you have members? And then if you have members, you continue doing it this way, where you you create a new composite. But if you have arguments, then you know that this is a record. And you know what? I think we still... Yeah, so this will be half of the equation. But then there's going to be another half. So symbol value composite. What's happening here is that we've got a distinction between getting to where we can. Yeah. All right. So we've got a distinction between what we can see from the compiler, and then what ends up being part of a specification that we can send around. So specification being that thing that you see in text that describes the pipeline and describes the projection. And so that kind of specification is intended to be completely language agnostic. JavaScript should be able to parse that, as well as .NET.
Yeah.
and the server shouldn't have to have any of your types in order for that to work. And so the composite is a section of the projection that is like a child component and has its own fields. So so basically it's parsing this record in this case and seeing, okay, this is supposed to be a composite. So the first thing is that we'll look for members or arguments, and then turn either one of those two into a composite. And that'll get us a lot further down the road. But then when we get to the part where we actually execute that pipeline and then execute the projection, and now we need to realize that back into some C# classes, then at that point, it's also assuming that the type that it has is a class type, and it can call object or member initializers on those. And so I'm sure that part will fail too. And so that code also needs to check, does this thing have a constructor? Actually, I remember that code. That side might already work. Yeah, because it checks to see if the thing has a constructor, and if so, then it uses those not as field initializers, but as constructor parameters. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of changing this code to be members or arguments. So it might be a pretty simple fix.
Members.
Yeah, is that something that we want to go ahead and try this morning real quick? It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, we can try it out. Why not?
Yeah.
But I cannot change it here because here I'm importing the DLLs. So I have to go to the source code of, I guess. Can I
it should be. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you are looking at.
Yeah.
Well, since you import the DLLs, I think the debugger, because you're the one who built the DLL, so the debugger knows where the source code for that DLL was. And so this is actually, yeah. I'm sure this is the your copy of the Janaga source code on your machine.
Let's see. So the names come here, the arguments, but I have to make a distinction first whether it's a class. So if type of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way that we make that distinction is we check to see if members is null. And if it is, we use arguments instead. So it might be as simple as just putting parentheses around newBody.members and then changing that expression to newBody.members question newBody.arguments.
Question.
Yeah, so inside the parentheses, because you want that to apply before the select. Yeah, the thing that would. Yeah, so you want that code that you're writing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because the select after that. So.
Yeah, and it's two question marks because this is null coalition. Null coalition.
Members, and otherwise it is.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yes.
Nobody got arguments. Is it that?
Yeah. So.
But do I need this? Do I need these brackets or not?
You don't. So. You don't. Yeah, I was describing a slightly shorter way of doing that same thing with the two question mark operator, but that's fine. Okay, so the only reason this wouldn't work is if members and arguments are actually two different types and can't be converted into a base type, which may actually be the case. So let's compile it and see if that's what the compiler tells us.
We are gonna on this one. If I say build, rebuild.
Yeah, and now is probably where you need to open up another Visual Studio instance to open the Jnaga solution file.
Is open.
Okay, cool.
Wait, that's in the value parser. Value parser. Where do I find that one? Right, let me. Solutions. Oh no, he's not gonna synchronize here. Let me search for it. Value parser. Entire solutions. Yeah, I'm there. Indeed, he changed it in my source code here. Okay. If I just do rebuild, but he's giving me red underlines there.
Yeah. Yeah, those are two for
Type of
protects.
conditional expression cannot be determined because there is no implicit conversion. Okay, so we have to cast it probably.
Or what I would say is move that select into the parentheses after both of those. Because once you're finished with the select, this is an IEnumerable of string in either case. It's just the type of member inside of that select gets inferred. So in fact, you can...
Yeah, what we'll do is then move this one, put it here, and put it.
Yeah, you broke up there, but I see it looks like... Yeah, it looks like you're doing the right thing there. So yeah, you got the select,
Now I'm missing a bracket or not.
Yeah, because there should be one more close parentheses at the end because the select has close parentheses. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't even need the open one now. Okay.
Save it. Then the other one is not updated now. Why is he still giving me? New body is not null here. Cannot implicitly convert to Boolean. So he's talking about this one here.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, this isn't JavaScript. You have to say members equal, or not equal, no. I am so used to it's just truthy
New
things.
members not...
yeah, if that's not equal to null.
Equal to null.
Yeah.
If equal, yeah, not equal in this sense.
Null, then use the members. Yeah. Otherwise, use the arguments.
The other side updating. Yeah, now I say
build. Interesting. Yeah. I am just now scanning down one more line, and I think I got arguments and parameters backwards. But yeah, so an argument is something that needs to be fulfilled, and then a parameter is something that fulfills it. So on that line that we were just working on, rather than newBody.arguments, we really want newBody.parameters.
Here.
Yes. There is no parameters.
No.
Well. Okay, so yeah, let's keep it as arguments because what we're just doing, we're getting just the names of those arguments. But I know that I could come up with a scenario in which this is incorrect. But let's continue with this and see if it fixes this immediate problem.
So the names we have here, it's argument, so that's not a problem. So it should work then.
It should work for this scenario. The place in which it wouldn't work is if you used a different variable name in your specification than you did in the constructor parameter. So we could we could be malicious and come up with a scenario in which this wouldn't work, which is something that I fully intend to do.
I don't really follow when it doesn't work.
Yeah. So this.
Never mind. You will.
Yeah.
You will show me. You will show me. Let's go to the unit test and see what it does now. If I just go, let's run it. Oh, build errors. Why? Missing a directive. Could not be found.
Yeah, so you rebuilt Janaga, and now this is so this
still
is
here.
So rebuild the solution on this side, and
no,
that's very strange.
Attribute. It's all. Wait, let me rebuild the other one. If I do there, rebuild one more time on the other side. Oh wait, was it saying failing? Just warnings. I'm still building.
Oh, okay. We need to give it a minute.
No, it came up here. Jinaga DLL not found. Meta file. Why is that? Then errors in jinaga.net.
Okay.
That cannot be. Wait. Jinaga. No.
Okay, this might take a little longer then.
But it's especially that jinaga.dll is not found. Okay. He's probably giving an error when he builds the DLL, and so all the other ones are not finding it.
Okay. Yeah, we can resolve that problem later then. It was just a nice experiment to see if we could quickly get this one fixed and patched.
The problem is, wait. I'm not going to give up immediately. It tells me the last name here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one is underlining expression does not contain a definition for name. Okay, so member apparently. So if the new body is a record, then member has no name property.
Yeah, so it's inferring the type of member based on arguments. So member actually isn't a member anymore. We just copied and pasted that code from somewhere else where it was actually a member. But now it's an argument. And you can actually see the, and the very next line, on line 22, we're doing new body to arguments, and then we're doing a select arg. So the arg that's coming in there, we are, I think actually that is an expression, because we're saying I want to parse that value, and so it's going to parse the value from an expression. So yeah, expressions don't have names. Yeah, that's the problem, is that I made an assumption that arguments was the parameters to the constructor, but actually what we need to do is get the type of new body, and then find its constructor, assert that it has only one, and then grab the parameters to that constructor, and those are the names that we want to use. So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's a bit more involved.
So what we'll do is just throw away the changes and recompile here. Throw away, then rebuild the solution. Now it should work, I think.
Well, by work it'll build again, and it'll give us the old error message, the null reference exception.
Yeah.
Or null argument
Okay.
exception. Yeah.
That one built. Then let's build here also. Rebuild the solution. This one built also. So now if we go to unit test, now it should fail again with the old exception. Yeah, it fails. Yeah, value cannot be null.
All right.
But then imagine that one is solved.
Uh-huh.
Then I'm having here what I get out of it: users and their names working. The users and their names. Users working for the supplier.
Mm-hmm.
That's an immutable list of user data. So user data was that record, the type of the record that I defined.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to make my test here. So users and their names working for supplier should be equivalent to. So a new array of user data. In user data, there is user one. And then there is this observable collection of usernames.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw an hour ago that you use something like manager row, and in the watch test. Wait, let me. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so I see the red squiggles here. Are those curly braces?
No, these are just normal braces. I was just wondering which type do I have to use here?
Yeah, so those should be curly braces, because what you're doing is you're creating an array and then inferring the type of the array from the elements.
Yeah, but that's not working. This
right.
one.
And so now it's saying I can't convert that array into an immutable or an I-observable collection.
This I'm having. I'm missing.
Yeah, so
I'm missing one bracket here. Yeah.
Maybe, but yeah, the thing about that red squiggly is that so what that statement is going to do is take the type of user 01 name 02A and user 01 name 02B. It'll see, hey, these are both the same type. All right, cool. So now you want a new array of those things. So it's going to infer that's an array of username.
Yeah.
The user data constructor expects an I-observable collection of username, and so there's there's no way for you to create an iObservable collection. Internally.
Because it's a type defined in Jinaga.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so Jinaga defines that and creates it internally in two different ways. If you're doing j.query, it gives you one that's realized, and you can just enumerate over it. If you're doing j.watch, then it gives you a different instance that allows you to do unadded. So you can continue to watch now elements of that collection. So, so neither one of those two are available to you. So it just boils down to this be equivalent to. You have to convert to an array on the left-hand side, rather than try to convert to an immutable collection or iObservable collection on the right-hand side. So.
So this one.
Yeah.
To array.
Actually, wait. There's something easier we could do. So the record type that you declared. Does this make sense? Yeah. This might not ultimately work, but we can try that. The record type that you declared, you're using iObservable collection as the parameter. If you change that to iEnumerable, then no, that won't work, because it'll try to immediately enumerate it, which would be fine for j.query, but then you wouldn't be able to use j.watch on it. So yeah, scratch that idea. So what we're doing here is we want to do a .select.
And if I will do this, Michael, to array here one to array of user data.
Yeah, so that's only going to go one level. So basically it's going to take that immutable list and turn that into an array. But the user data objects themselves will still contain iObservable collections. So if you do a .select, then you can go through each one of them and replace the elements. So yeah.
I don't follow here.
Let's see if the. Yeah, I'm taking a look at.
Yeah, I need. Yeah, if I do this, I have user data, but user data contains this iObservable, which I cannot initiate myself.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, what I'm saying is that rather than .toArray that you've got there, you do a .select, and then you select a different data type. In fact, one that's you can just use a an anonymous type. But basically, yeah, you're selecting each individual element into a new record, or scratch record, into a new object. So yeah, you don't have to specify the type at all. So select, open close parentheses, and then inside of those parentheses you would put a lambda that takes your your thing and then gives you new open bracket.
Yeah.
And
here.
Yeah, and now.
And here I define a type which.
Yeah, so you can say user equals s dot user.
Wait,
Just
here.
Just equals. Yeah, and then s dot, and I've got user.
This one here, user, and then I need what else? I had the user names.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then s dot names equal.
Yeah, you have to give it the name first. So just usernames equal s dot usernames.
Oh,
and that's where you can put the .toArray.
Equal array.
Yeah, and just open close parentheses, let it infer the type.
Okay. Wait, then it's gonna.
Yep. So now if you scroll over, you should see almost.
No.
Oh, right.
Then
Yeah.
here.
So yeah, now we're not talking about user data. So just remove the.
Oh, user and
Yeah. So you
an
see where
array
it's saying
of
new user
user
data. You're trying to
names.
create an instance of that record. So just
Yep.
get rid of the word user data. You're just saying new, and then now you're going to initialize an anonymous object again. So user equal user1.
User1, yes, and then
Yeah, but put the
an
user
array
equal in
of.
front of it because you're initializing a new field of an anonymous type.
Oh, and
Yep, and
then
that's user names equal
user
that.
names. A new array. I think I have too many
Yeah, now you
brackets
can drop
here.
that.
Right. We have
And
this one. We have. Oh, I need one like that.
okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, so that's a bit verbose. So might be something we can do to make that easier. But that compiles, it'll still fail because the problem that we were facing before. But
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, once we fix that, this should work, except for the fact that user names, the N is not capitalized there. But the test would tell you that once we get it working. Yep.
Names,
And so now
and did I?
that should
Yep,
start
yeah.
working after we allow it to initialize records.
Mm-hmm. And what you did in your tests, because I didn't found out anymore how it just worked, but you used. Let me go to management projection. Where was it? I'm looking in jinaga.net now.
Okay.
So, for example, you had this specification, managers in company. And then you defined management projection, which was a class.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me see on the, you defined a nested watch, which was using when watch management. Anyway, and there should be equivalent to a new manager row. And that manager row, that was also a class.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure whether you follow or you want me to share.
I was able to, I was able to find it. So yeah, I'm in nested watch test. Yeah, and so, so the key to these tests is the Office repository. So this is basically simulating that we are using a watch in order to update some repository. So so this perhaps is a local database. And so if you look in the local database at the managers table, you see a bunch of rows, and the rows are after this test should just be one row, should have an ID of 1. The foreign key office ID should be 1, employee number 42, and name Michael. Yeah, I'm looking on line 150.
A fake office repository, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, so these tests are not going directly after the projection, but it's then checking to see what this code does with the projection. So if you take a look at
what is what is in that fake office repository. All right. Yeah.
I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen on the stream. So rewind that and then replay it while you're looking at this. All right. So if you take a look at the method when watch management, that's 224 in my version of the code, which I think is still correct.
In which
in
file?
nested watch test.
Nested watch test.
Yeah, in fact, I can.
Yeah.
Probably
224. You said. Yeah. When watch management. Okay.
Yeah. So you can see that it's doing a j.watch. Let's see if I can add you to the.
Otherwise, you can perhaps share it and it's for everybody visible.
Yeah, let me paste the link for you real quick into general.
Nice.
Boom.
I stopped the thing. You're sharing the link live share?
Yes. Yeah, I just pasted a live share link into the general.
Otherwise,
channel.
perhaps just put it on Discord. Share screen, no?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I can do that. All right.
And everybody can follow it.
All right. I am. Okay.
We have too many ways to share now.
Yeah, I know it. Okay. Share the screen. Screen 2. Okay.
Watch. Yeah.
And then back there. Okay.
Yeah,
everything's nice and clear. All right. Okay, so when watch management. So that's going to watch for changes in management at this company. That's what that is intended to do. So we start a j.watch from that company, look for managers in company. And so we can take a look at managers in company in just a second to see how that works. But the important thing here is what we do with those results. So we get back a projection, and that's our management projection that's coming from that specification. And then once we get one, then we talk to the repository and we do an insert. So this is simulating a literal SQL insert into some table somewhere. So it's inserting into the office table. And the name is one of the columns in that office table that it wants to set upon insert. Then it says projection.managers. Whenever something is added to that observable collection, then we get back a manager projection. And so I want to insert a manager. And so here the things that I want to set are the office ID and the employee number. So you can see that employee number is coming from the projection itself, but office ID is that office ID that was just generated based on that previous insert. So that's the foreign key.
Yeah.
So that's as far as we'll take that right now.
That's a local identifier.
Yeah, exactly. Local only. It does not mean anything outside of this machine. So now we can take a look at managers in company. And so we can see here's the specification. So given a company, you want to match office, where office.company is equal to that company. We can ignore this condition for right now. And then the thing that we select is a management projection with that office and then managers. being fax.all from a different specification, managers in Office.
Yeah.
And so managers in Office is declared right up here. So we get those managers, and then that gives us back a manager projection. So we've got a management projection and a manager projection, just to keep things confusing. So the idea is that if we go back up to the code we were looking at before, WinWatch management, this projection here is the management projection. That's the results of the first one. And then here I do projection.managers on added. And so that gives me my manager projection, which is the element of that observable collection. So I'm consuming the observable collection to update the repository. And now the observable collection stuff is gone. It's no longer part of my type system. Office repository is the thing that I'm going to assert against. So insert Office, I'll go ahead and dive into that. And we can see that whenever I insert an Office, it adds to the Offices collection. And that's a bunch of Office rows. So Office row, just imagine that you're looking at Entity Framework. That's an Office row.
Yep.
And similarly,
You had a manager row as well?
Yes. So if I go back here, so that was the insert Office. When I insert a manager, that inserts into managers a manager row. So generate an ID, use the foreign key, insert the employee number, initialize this mutable column name to be updated later. And so now you've got your manager row.
And so in the test itself, you go check in that repository probably.
Yes.
Yeah, there.
Yep.
Yeah, Office repository.managers. Okay.
Yep, and it should have just one row.
Yeah. I saw it last minute and I was thinking, wow, they're same type. But of course, it's not the same type. It's just one of the types in Office repository. So in fact, there is, if we work, but does that mean it doesn't make any difference whether we work with records or with classes? If we want to do that comparison be equivalent to, it will be the same ugly syntax that we have.
Yeah, and that's really just a fluent assertions thing.
Unless we get access to this observable.
Yeah, that could be one of the solutions that we put in place. So rather than hiding both of those implementations, and then basically Janaga is determining based on whether you do a j.watch or a j.query, which of those two implementations to give you. The one that allows you to do onadded is what it returns from j.watch. The one that allows you to do enumeration is what it returns from j.query. And both of them assert that you're not trying to do the wrong thing with them.
Okay.
But yeah, so I could expose the collection one, or I could actually give you a brand new implementation that works well with unit testing. Yeah, and that way you wouldn't have to transform it on the left-hand side in order to do be equivalent to. Because ultimately, and in fact, we might even be able to make this work without, let me do something real quick to prove a point. So I'm going to run this test, and we're going to see initially that the test passes. Yep, passed 1. This always bugs me. I see the 1 and then I see failed, and it looks like 1 failed. No, it's passed colon 1. So this test passed. Now I'm going to get rid of the type name, and I'm just going to infer a type. This test will still pass. And to prove the point, I'm running it again, still passed 1. Yeah. So that is kind of the magic of fluent assertions. So it isn't doing an equality comparison between the objects that you give it. Instead, it's doing a field by field and an element by element comparison. So if you say that this iObservable of things is equivalent to this iObservable of a completely different thing, then it's going to say, okay, do they have the same number of things in them? Is everything that's on the left and the right and everything on the right and the left? It's not going to enforce the order unless you tell it to. But by default, it'll say, order's irrelevant, which is usually the right thing. And then as it goes through each one, it says, okay, that on that side, it's a class, and it's got these 4 properties. On this side, it's an anonymous type, and it's got these 4 fields properties. I'm not even sure which it chooses. Probably properties. Yeah, it does choose properties. And then it just says, okay, do they have the same names? Are there some names on the right that are not on the left, or on the left that are not on the right? It allows one of those 2 directions, but not the other until you override that again. And then it compares the values, and that just goes recursively. So looking at the straight value, or if it's an array, then it'll do that same array comparison. If it's an object, it'll do that same kind of property by property comparison. So all that to say that we can probably simplify your code by, rather than doing the .select on this side and turning it into an anonymous type, now you can probably just get rid of that and say be equivalent to and have the anonymous type on the right.
Let's try.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that let's get him back.
I lost you.
Yeah, it looks like we are now down to about an hour.
Yeah, we are. We are in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where were we? It was in the unit test itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was here.
Okay, so go ahead and
do you still
again.
have time to? Yeah.
Yeah, we can go just a little bit longer. And unfortunately, we didn't get to showing off the intelligent error messages. We'll have to do that one next. Well, we can't do that next week. I'm going to be in Colorado next week, so that's going to have to wait for 2 weeks. And by then, I'm sure I'll have just all the error messages covered.
I will share that screen again. Too many things open. Here, DWS, yeah. All right. Is that readable?
Yes.
Okay.
If we don't breathe on it. Okay.
So, if we want to make, it was here.
Mm-hmm. So we just get rid of that entire. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Keep the old one around, but yeah, now we can just get rid of the entire select. Just go straight from that to .should.
This should be equivalent, and then here we want to make it.
Nope. Let it be an anonymous type.
Yeah. So an array of anonymous types. Huh?
Yep.
Okay. So Here. Yeah.
And so
Here an array.
Yeah, on the left-hand side, it's going to say, hey, here's an I observable collection of records. And it says, okay, I can enumerate that. So I'll enumerate that. And because you started with j.query, Janaga says, yep, that's fine, you can enumerate it. And then on the left-hand side, we've got an array of anonymous types. So it just says, okay, let me one by one go through the elements in those two collections and see if I can match them up left to right. It says, okay, there's only one here, there's only one there. All right, now let me match the properties. The record has a property called user and a property called usernames. So, okay, let me go ahead and compare those. Yep, that's the same object as the other side. That's now an array. Enumerate those again.
If I rebuild it with a no errors. Now we cannot run it because the query before is not executing, but
right. Right.
That should be okay.
Yeah, I believe that will work. And so that means don't have to do anything special with iObservable collection.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of interface I really don't want to encourage you to try to implement yourself or to start sharing iObservable collections around. The unfortunate thing is that name is already used in other contexts. So you've got observable collections in XAML. You've got observable collections in reactive extensions. And those two things mean different things. This is closer to the reactive side than it is to the XAML side, but still, it's different enough from both of them. So.
Okay, but in this way with anonymous types, it does work, and it's not that ugly code.
Right.
It's quite efficient that way. So okay. In meanwhile, I can while records are not working, I can just use classes, and I can continue my model. So next week you will not be there, but the week after, I guess.
Correct.
You will be back. Okay.
That is right.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, this is definitely very helpful stuff. Got lots of things that I can make better for people to follow, so they don't have to debug into the Janaga source code.
Yeah, and I'm getting step by step a little bit further in the understanding of how it works. It goes slowly, but I start understanding it. It's still going to be a long time before I can change the source myself, but one day we might get there.
So in the interim, go ahead and upgrade your service to TLS 1.3 because it's going to be a little while.
No. I don't want to waste time on that. And the information there is not so important, so it doesn't really matter as long as it works. Okay, right. Michael, have a nice day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.